Have you ever met someone for just a few seconds and instantly felt that something was off, even though they hadn't said anything wrong? Or maybe you've trusted someone completely, only to discover later that they were never who you thought they were. Here's a shocking psychological fact. Most human communication isn't spoken. Long before words reach your ears, your brain is already analyzing facial expressions, body language, tone, hesitation, emotional energy, and behavioral patterns. And the strangest part, most people have no idea they're doing it. So here's the question. If human beings constantly reveal who they are without realizing it, why do so many people fail to understand the people around them? The answer lies in hidden psychology. Because human behavior is not random, every action, reaction, habit, and emotional response follows patterns. And once you learn to see those patterns, people become far easier to understand. Let's begin with one of psychology's most fascinating secrets. People often reveal themselves when they talk about others. This is known as projection. Imagine someone constantly accusing others of being dishonest. They're suspicious of everyone. They assume bad intentions. They see deception everywhere. Sometimes they're right, but often they're unknowingly exposing their own fears, habits, or hidden tendencies. The human mind struggles to accept uncomfortable truths about itself, so instead it projects them outward. The qualities people criticize most aggressively are often the qualities they secretly battle within themselves. Now, here's where things become even more interesting. Beneath every personality exists what psychologists call the shadow. The shadow contains the parts of ourselves we don't want others to see: jealousy, resentment, greed, insecurity, fear. Most people spend their lives hiding these emotions, but hidden emotions don't disappear. They leak out through behavior. A smile that feels forced, a compliment that sounds like criticism, a friend who celebrates your success while secretly feeling threatened. The shadow always leaves clues, and if you know where to look, those clues become impossible to ignore. But perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of human behavior is this. People rarely react to reality. They react to their interpretation of reality. Two people can experience the exact same event and walk away with completely different emotions. Why? Because behavior is shaped less by what happens and more by what something means to a person. This is where emotional triggers enter the picture. Every person carries invisible emotional buttons: fear of rejection, fear of failure, need for approval, need for control. When these buttons are pressed, behavior changes instantly. Calm people become angry. Confident people become insecure. Kind people become defensive. The trigger reveals what logic often hides. And then there's crab mentality, one of the darkest patterns in human behavior. When someone starts growing, succeeding, or improving, not everyone feels inspired. Some feel threatened. Your progress becomes a mirror reflecting their own excuses. So instead of climbing with you, they try pulling you down. Not because they necessarily hate you, but because your growth forces them to confront themselves. Now think carefully about this. What if the people around you are constantly revealing their true psychology through small behaviors you've never noticed? What if understanding human behavior isn't about listening to what people say, but learning to see what they unconsciously reveal? If you're enjoying these psychological insights, subscribe to Human Secrets Hub, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Because in part 2, we're uncovering the emotional reason people behave the way they do, and it explains more about your relationships than you might imagine. If you've ever felt this pain, if you've ever trusted someone who later disappointed you, if you've ever questioned your worth because of how someone treated you, then what you're about to hear may change the way you see human behavior forever. Most people assume behavior is about personality. They think kind people are always kind, confident people are always confident, and difficult people are simply difficult. But psychology reveals something deeper. Behavior is often the visible result of invisible emotions. People don't always act based on who they are. They often act based on what they are feeling, and sometimes those feelings are hidden even from themselves. Think about the last time someone overreacted to a small situation. Maybe they became angry over a simple comment. Maybe they withdrew after minor criticism. Maybe they acted cold for no obvious reason. What you witnessed wasn't necessarily the situation itself. You may have been witnessing an emotional wound being triggered. Now consider a story. A young man named Ethan worked hard at his job for years, quietly, consistently, without seeking attention. One day, he received a promotion. Most of his coworkers congratulated him, but one coworker named Ryan became noticeably distant. The change was subtle at first: shorter conversations, less eye contact, more criticism. Then came sarcastic comments disguised as jokes. Ethan couldn't understand it. Had he done something wrong? Weeks later, the truth became clear. Ryan had wanted the same promotion, but instead of confronting his disappointment, he redirected it toward Ethan. His behavior wasn't really about Ethan, it was about his own frustration, his own insecurity, his own sense of failure. And this is one of the most important lessons in understanding human behavior. People often reveal their internal struggles through their external actions. The angry person may be carrying fear. The arrogant person may be hiding insecurity. The controlling person may feel powerless. The jealous person may feel inadequate. Behavior is often a symptom, not the root cause. This doesn't excuse harmful actions, but it helps explain them. And when you understand this principle, something remarkable happens. You stop taking every behavior personally. You begin seeing people more clearly. You start noticing patterns beneath the surface. Suddenly, relationships make more sense. Conflicts make more sense. Even your own reactions begin making more sense. Because understanding human behavior isn't about becoming a mind reader. It's about becoming an observer of emotions, patterns, motives, and hidden psychological needs. The moment you learn to look beneath behavior, you discover an entirely new layer of human nature. But here's where things become truly powerful. What if understanding these patterns could actually protect you from manipulation, conflict, and emotional exhaustion? What if human psychology could become a personal advantage rather than just knowledge? Because in part 3, we're going to uncover the mindset shifts that transform ordinary people into skilled observers of human behavior. As a psychology professor, the moment you start understanding human behavior, you stop feeling controlled by it. Instead of constantly wondering why people act the way they do, you begin seeing the hidden patterns driving their decisions, and that changes everything. Most people spend their lives reacting to criticism, reacting to rejection, reacting to praise, reacting to conflict. But psychologically aware people do something different. They observe first, and observation creates power. The first mindset shift is this: watch actions more than words. People often tell you who they want to be. Their behavior tells you who they actually are. A friend may promise loyalty. A partner may promise honesty. A coworker may promise support. But over time, actions reveal the truth. Psychologists call this behavioral consistency. Human beings can control words for a few minutes. They can control behavior for a few days. But maintaining a false identity over long periods becomes extremely difficult. Eventually, patterns emerge. That's why understanding behavior requires patience. Don't focus on a single moment. Focus on repeated actions. The pattern is usually more honest than the explanation. The second mindset shift is learning to identify emotional triggers. Every person has them. A topic that creates anger, a situation that creates fear, a criticism that creates defensiveness. These reactions often reveal hidden insecurities and unresolved emotions. Imagine someone becoming unusually defensive whenever failure is mentioned. The reaction itself provides valuable information, not because the person is weak, but because the topic touches something emotionally important. Triggers are psychological windows. They reveal what people care about, fear, protect, or avoid. The third mindset shift is understanding motivation. Every behavior serves a purpose, even unhealthy behavior. Some people seek approval, some seek control, some seek attention, some seek security. When you stop asking, what are they doing, and start asking, why might they be doing it, your understanding deepens dramatically. Suddenly, behavior becomes easier to interpret. You begin seeing motives behind actions, needs behind reactions, and emotions behind decisions. The fourth mindset shift may be the most powerful of all. Separate intention from impact. Many people hurt others without intending to do so. Others intentionally create harm while pretending innocence. Understanding the difference is critical. Observe whether someone consistently takes responsibility for their behavior. Observe whether they learn from mistakes. Observe whether their actions improve over time. These clues reveal far more than apologies ever can. And here's the fascinating part. The more you understand human behavior, the more you understand yourself. You begin recognizing your own triggers, your own patterns, your own emotional blind spots, because self-awareness and people awareness grow together. The person who understands others deeply usually understands themselves as well. But there is one final insight that ties everything together, a truth hidden beneath every personality, every relationship, and every human interaction. Once you understand it, you'll never look at people the same way again. And in part 4, we're uncovering the revelation that explains why human behavior is far more predictable than it appears. What if the greatest secret about human behavior is that most people are not acting from logic at all? What if beneath the surface, nearly every decision, reaction, and relationship is being guided by something much deeper? This is the final revelation, and once you understand it, human behavior begins to make sense in a completely new way. People are driven by needs, not just physical needs, psychological needs. The need to feel valued, the need to feel respected, the need to feel safe, the need to belong, the need to feel important. These invisible needs influence behavior more than most people realize. Think about it. Why does criticism hurt so much? Because it threatens the need for validation. Why does rejection feel painful? Because it threatens the need for belonging. Why do some people constantly seek attention? Because attention, temporarily, satisfies the need to feel significant. When you understand the need beneath the behavior itself becomes easier to understand. Suddenly, the angry person isn't just angry. The anger may be protecting insecurity. The arrogance may be hiding fear. The jealousy may be hiding self-doubt. The control may be hiding anxiety. And this is why human behavior often seems unpredictable. We see the action, but we don't see the emotional need driving it. Imagine standing in a crowded room. Every person appears different. Different personalities, different backgrounds, different beliefs. Yet beneath all those differences, most people are quietly fighting similar battles. They want acceptance. They want meaning. They want connection. They want to feel that they matter. And sometimes their behavior reflects those needs in healthy ways. Sometimes it reflects them in destructive ways. But the need remains the same. This understanding creates something powerful. Compassion without naivety. You can understand people without excusing harmful behavior. You can recognize someone's pain without allowing them to hurt you. You can see their humanity without surrendering your boundaries. That is psychological wisdom. Not judging too quickly, not trusting blindly, but seeing clearly. Because understanding human behavior isn't about gaining power over people, it's about gaining clarity. The clarity to recognize patterns, the clarity to understand motives, the clarity to navigate relationships with confidence instead of confusion, and perhaps most importantly, the clarity to understand yourself. Because every insight you've learned about others also applies to you. You have triggers. You have fears. You have emotional needs. You have patterns. The more honestly you examine them, the more powerful you become. Not powerful because you control others, powerful because you no longer need to. And here's the ultimate lesson hidden behind human behavior. People may hide their intentions, they may disguise their emotions, they may conceal their motives, but behavior always leaves clues. Always. The person who learns to see those clues gains something more valuable than influence. They gain understanding, and understanding changes everything. Remember this. When you stop judging what people say and start observing what people repeatedly do, human nature becomes far less mysterious. Because the deepest secret of human behavior is this: people reveal who they are every single day. Most simply never learn how to see it. And the moment you do, you stop walking through life confused by people and start walking through life empowered by understanding.